Right, we are recording. We're hot. Good luck with the BT Epic.
I'm not racing this year.
Okay.
I'm just going to hang.
Well, hopefully your hang works out fine for you there.
I hope so too.
You hanging left or right this weekend?
I dress to the left.
Okay.
You want to roll some music? Let's talk about bikes.
Welcome aboard, everyone. Believe it or not, it is another edition of Shiftless. I know.
Back again.
Back again. And anybody that really knows Brad and I, for us to do this for 31 episodes.
It's pretty crazy.
Uninterrupted.
It's pretty crazy. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, damn, we've been doing this. This will be our 31st episode. I was like, that's crazy. And then I thought, why did Kevin ask me to do this?
You reached out to me.
I don't recall it that way.
Oh, am I going to have to bring up the text stream or whatever it was? I mean, we did our Sharknado thing back in the day. And since then...
I was wrong, for the record. I was wrong.
Since then, you've reached out to me on a regular basis of, we need to do another podcast. We need to do another podcast.
That is true.
So
that is true. And then scouting roads and stuff, we always just have good conversations.
We do. We do.
Speaking of Sharknado, have you seen The Meg?
I know it exists. I have not seen it, though.
I haven't either.
And, there's a Meg 2 as well, I believe.
I'm curious. I'm not going to rush out and watch it.
Yeah, it was... I had a crazy night last night for whatever reason. I've got theories, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. After supper last night, 7 o'clock, boom, I'm out like a light.
Really?
It was like I got my belly full, and it's like I feel tired now. And I went to lay down on the couch and watch some YouTube and just zonked out. Woke up at like 2:30 in the morning. So, I mean, that's probably a solid 7-8 hours of sleep right there. But wasn't ready to crawl off the couch just yet. So I fired up the YouTube, and there was some documentary about how have we gotten to where we are with modern movies, and basically why there's really no good movies out there hardly anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you think of the classic 70s, 80s, and 90s dramas and comedies, and not that all of them were good,
right?
But there was such an assortment.
They were original.
That was the
thing.
Yeah. There was a lot of meat on that bone for that particular documentary, and it put me back to sleep, after I listened to it for about 45 minutes. So that was good. And then I rolled out of bed at 6:30 this morning at proper time.
6:30?
Yeah. Event day is usually 4 to 4:30, but if it's not an event day, I do 6:30, something like that. I used to be Mr. Night Owl and sleep till noon if I could, sort of thing. And those days are long gone, thankfully.
I'm a night owl. It's hard for me to go to sleep before midnight.
Yeah, I was a midnight 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sort of thing there. Well, that'll be part of it.
But my gigs, are always evening, tend to be.
So. There is that. There is that. Mine are almost always morning.
Yeah.
We've got a good rat crew out there this week. Don't know if you've been following it, but they...
How many you have on course?
Probably right now it's half a dozen or so, something like that. We had a few drop out in the first couple days, which typically happens.
Due to any particular reason?
One was all I saw was knee injury. So I don't know if that was a tumble and hurt something, or if it was just an overuse thing, doing too many long days in a row that they weren't used to.
Yeah.
Combination there. Actually, there were two of those. Rich Walshman's still out there.
Yeah.
As of this morning.
I've been seeing his Strava posts.
There's a crew from out, I believe, I'm not sure where they're all from. Some are from the Bridgeport area, but they all kind of know each other. A gentleman named Roll, plugging along. Matt Golson, Steve Fluche. Good crew out there, and they're all making progress. We're kind of today's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
They're following basically our stage schedule.
Yeah.
Which is what I recommend for most people. But
yeah. Unless you're going to try to bust out an FKT.
I don't recommend that for anyone for their first attempt at the rat.
No, I wouldn't recommend that for anything.
Understood.
Yeah.
But that's the way a lot of people do it. People we know fairly well. Maybe not an FKT per se, but they want to be in that realm sort of thing. It's like, you don't even know what you're getting into yet.
Right.
So just come out the first year and do the stage schedule. It's plenty tough. Yeah. It'll let you know what you're up against, and it'll give you an idea what you need to do if you want to go for an FKT or be in that 5-day realm somewhere down the road, sort of thing. Because it's still 130, 150 mile days.
Yeah.
And you do that day after day for 8 days, it'll stack up on you.
Yeah. That's a monstrous push.
So far, this crew's sticking to the schedule for the most part. Rich fell a little bit behind. I'm thinking
he took a short day on Monday. Is that right? He said he rode like 62 miles or something.
Well, basically what happened, he got bit by a dog on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went through to Denison. He got to Paris with us Saturday night, and Sunday he went to Denison. That's still on the stage schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Monday should have been Henrietta. That's where everyone else went. Looked like Rich pulled up in Munster for whatever reasons.
Yes.
I don't know the details on that yet. So he's off schedule from the others, but he left Henrietta so he's basically a day behind at the moment. Who knows? Maybe he'll ride through the night and catch up. I'm thinking not.
93 beats per minute.
Zone 5 for Rich.
That guy's an anomaly.
But yeah, today's Vernon. So they overnighted in Vernon last night. The folks that are on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight would be they would make it to Childress. If they make it to Childress, it's not all downhill, but they've got what it takes to make it the whole way. They've proven it to themselves, and if they can make it to Childress, things can still go sideways. Stuff can happen.
Oh yeah,
bad weather, food poisoning, whatever.
Yeah, stuff
can happen. But if
weather seems pretty good.
They've got a chilly day lined up potentially
on Saturday.
Yeah, and we've run into that before and it was following the stage, got almost the exact same thing where we had a whole crew that was doing well up until Vega the last night, and then the cold front came through that Saturday, and a lot of folks couldn't finish it. They just couldn't push through. It was that, because you get up on top of the cap rock when it's sub-freezing and the winds are blowing, it's not good.
Yeah, especially if you're ill-prepared.
Even when you think you're prepared, you would have to go the whole, Iditarod, get up route basically to be properly prepared for it.
Yeah, nobody's packing pogies.
Exactly. So, I think there's a good chance we might have Mr. Waldschmidt on again somewhere down the road to get a rehash of his rat experience.
I don't know why. He's not any fun to talk to.
I know, and it's not like I get an email every other day. When's Rich going to be on again? I
love that guy.
Oh, speaking of which, did you get the viewer mail I sent you the other day?
From Andrew?
Yes.
I did get that one. I don't recall it verbatim, but I'll look it up.
Could you look it up?
I will.
Because we're coming up. Yeah, let's knock out viewer mail, because I don't know if you noticed one part of that one I wanted to bring to your attention if you missed it.
Episode 29, Full Circle. I love his opening line. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Because when Shannon calls me, I'll go ahead, caller, you're on the line. My experience on topics from episode 29. He's got this in bullet points. He's very well prepared. So number 1, the ultimate comfort frame is a steel full suspension, which is very interesting to me. It's super niche-y. especially green ones, even more nichey. I know this bike that he's speaking of, for the record.
Okay.
Maybe one of these days I'll get some tie jewelry between my legs. Number 2, one-up customer service exists, but they're not exactly happy about it. That is interesting. I did not know that. Not had to deal with one-up customer service. Number 3, e-bikes are definitely letting the old man in. In my eyes, giving into an e-bike is synonymous with the saying of death by rocking chair. An e-bike should be the last-ditch effort to ride a real bike. Just pedal harder, damn it. So.
And how does he wrap up his...
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
So I think he picked up on that.
The smartless.
Yeah. So tell me more. You're familiar with the bike Andrew is referring to?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but I think it's a Canadian brand. It's a steel full suspension bike. I've looked at it when he's had it out there. I cannot remember the name of it. It's a pretty cool build, but, obviously, if you're going to be a custom builder and you want to build a full suspension bike, steel is probably the most budget-friendly way to do that. I think you can do it really well. I mean, I think steel is a great frame choice. We were talking about this last night, I think. I have 4 steel bikes. So, I'm a fan.
Oh, I'm a fan too. I probably talked around the point I was trying to make last week along the lines of my expectation is steel is it's going to just be a custom frame. It's going to be a boutique frame going forward for the most part. There will be some exceptions in the mix. Surly will still be around. I'm not saying Surly's going. I'm not inferring that at all. But generally speaking, there's not very many new steel customers. Steel is a retro grouch material for the most part.
It's a merino. That's the name of it.
Merino.
Sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's a nice minty green color. I haven't ridden it. I mean, it's no offense, Andrew, but it's too small for me. But I would love to ride something comparable.
Shall we try to bring in our guest?
Absolutely.
Let's see what happens here.
Am I going to be able to hear him in my headphones?
Supposed to be able to. That's the plan anyway.
There we go.
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can.
Brad?
Yeah.
Can you hear Brad?
Hello.
Velvety, dulcet tones of Mr. Green.
What's going on, Mr. Wadley? How are you doing?
Trying to keep my head attached, if I'm being truthful.
For those who may not be familiar with Mr. Ron Wadley, he is the principal of Insurance for Texans. And Brad and myself, Bradford, I was about to say Bradley, Bradford and myself, we've come up with numerous topics in our episodes where insurance came up in the discussion. And I don't know how familiar you are with our show, but the basic premise is we're a couple of idiots that have no idea what we're talking about. And when we have topics that we think people would benefit from good information, we try to bring in an expert. So we're bringing you on board as an expert for cycling-related insurance information, and maybe whiskey too.
The good news is you've added a third idiot to this pile.
3 heads are better than
the bad
one.
News is, yeah, well, I mean, 3 is better than 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how much of an expert I am. How about that?
Yeah. You're definitely going to be more of an expert than we are. And full disclosure to everyone, several months ago, Ron and I recorded for Spinistry Chat some of these same sorts of topics, but for various reasons, that audio didn't come out very well. Ron, you were right about your pacemaker. It didn't work with that wireless mic at all. And and B, I didn't feel that, quite frankly, Spinistry Chat had enough audience to justify Ron's good content. And, I mean, we're up to at least 28 listeners on Shiftless now.
Does that mean we have South Dakota and North Dakota now?
And, you know what? I did not check this week. So I will check Alaska, South Dakota, and North Dakota when I get home. But we have a little bit broader audience that can benefit from some of Ron's information. So thank you, my good friend, for joining us today. This is not sponsored by Insurance for Texans, just to let anybody know. We're bringing in a real deal expert here, sort of thing. If you don't mind, Ron, can you just give us just a quick overview of what Insurance for Texans is, who you are, what your cycling background is, the elevator pitch on that sort of thing?
Sure, I can. That part I can handle well. So Insurance for Texans is an independent agency located here in the middle of Dallas-Fort Worth. We were born out of an idea that only being able to provide one solution to people is a bad idea. And we were also born out of the premise that insurance doesn't have to be so dadgum confusing and hard as a lot of folks like to make it. So we center ourselves around educating about what people truly have at risk, what they need to protect, and how to do it. We stretch across all lines. So we do personal lines, which would be your homes, your cars, your bikes, your boats, things of that nature that you own yourself. We do commercial insurance for everything from home-based businesses that don't make very much money all the way up to some large manufacturing risks that do sales in excess of 100 to 200 million a year. So we do individual health. We do health for businesses as well. We do accident policies that work really well for knucklehead mountain bikers like myself. If you are a cyclist and you call in, there's a good chance you could talk to me if you're needing to try to cover, a high-end titanium bike that's worth more than my car, because I'm the one that understands those things. As far as the cycling goes, I first pushed my leg over a bicycle at the age of 4, and was off of training wheels before I got to kindergarten, which really made my parents nervous, because if I could jump off of it, I would. Truly fell in love with what the three of us know as mountain biking back in the late 90s at this little place called River Legacy, and then began to explore. And I have ridden and raced a long time ago all over the southwest part of the United States. I just ride for fun now because racing got too serious, and screw that. I'm here for fun.
So I have a question. Did you have a set?
Nope.
No questions?
No.
So I think the original thought was when we were talking about having you on here, is we were talking about, did you hear about what happened to Peter Very when he was attempting to do the divide? He got hit from behind by a driver and totaled his bike and put him in the hospital. And I was just wondering if what kind of insurance would a guy need to cover those things? Like A, the bike, and B, obviously health insurance you need for hospital and whatnot, depending on what the coverage is from the other person, who, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I'm going to make an assumption that they were at fault since they rear-ended him.
Let's assume they're at fault and uninsured.
Yeah, I guess that is the base of my question is, he had a custom tie bike, that was probably $14K if I had to guess. Let's just call it $10K. And I don't know what his hospital stay is going to end up being, but he had surgeries and blah, blah, blah.
Let's say he's got $100,000 of medical bills. I don't think either of those numbers is unrealistic.
No, definitely not unrealistic. Plus PT and, time lost and all that stuff. So what is a guy that has that much exposure, what do they need to be protecting, and how do they go about doing it?
I'm going to start from, you guys said that you're going to assume he was uninsured. I'm going to tell you now that if you own a car and you are driving uninsured and you do that, you need to go to frickin' jail.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop millions of people from doing it every day, Ron.
I understand. One in 4 drivers in the state of Texas is driving around with no insurance, if we're being completely transparent.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that we need to do. First and foremost, if you have an auto insurance policy and you ride a bike that has any ability to come in contact with a car, there is a provision on your auto policy called personal injury protection that you need to max out.
Okay.
It's not going to cost you that much money, but if you are a cyclist, you are on the road and you are hit by a car, you have immediate access to that fund. So the people that I work with that I know ride, especially on the road, we always tell them that needs to be at $10,000. So there's the first immediate thing, because a car was involved with that accident. Your personal injury protection on your personal auto policy will kick in, and that's an immediate $10,000. Basically, they're going to cut a check and not ask a whole lot of questions.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece.
And that goes towards damage of the bike? Is that what I'm
It
understanding?
goes towards the medical bill.
That's
It's
medical.
going to go towards the
medical.
medical bill.
Okay.
Injury protection. Yeah, it's going to go. I mean, you can technically use it towards the bike, but it's ideally suited for those medical bills.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. It's something most, especially here in Texas, most of us own a car.
Yeah.
It's an inexpensive way to layer in $5,000-$10,000 worth of protection if you have the exposure of being hit by a car.
Okay.
Because when a car becomes involved, your own personal auto policy is going to extend, even though you weren't in your car.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's the first layer. The second layer, let's talk about the bike before we go to the medical bills, because the medical bills is going to be a bit of a weird nut.
Yeah.
The bike, you realistically have three options.
That's an extension of your homeowners, right?
It can be, and this is where we get into it's complicated. And the reason I say that we have three options. So the thing that you're going to run into with your homeowner's policy is, yes, that is personal property if you have the replacement cost endorsement on your policy and you have a $10,000 titanium bike that you can prove and verify would cost $10,000 to replace. Your homeowner's policy can and will replace that, less the deductible. And here in North, so here's the problem we're running into with things in North Texas right now. Because we have so much hail, all of the companies are forcing people to raise their deductibles higher and higher and higher. Your deductible for that claim could be $5,000, and if your bike is worth 10, it's nice to get a check for 5 G's, but you're still out half the bike.
Yeah.
It's a game that you can play, and you can do it on your homeowner's policy, but there's a better way. Some of the companies that we work with allow you to schedule your bicycle rather than just use your personal property. Because the other thing you run into with personal property, there may be a limit on how much they will actually pay out for an individual item that is considered sporting goods. And so you've got that caveat as well. So if the homeowner's insurance company will let you schedule it, much like you would a high value item like your wife's wedding ring. People are familiar with scheduling a ring that's worth several $1,000s. You can do the same thing with a bike with some of these companies. It's going to do a couple of things. Number one, it's going to give you that true 10K value. And number two, it's generally going to eliminate the deductible. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you extra premium on your policy, but it can be a really affordable way to do it to make sure that you get the 10, 15K back on that, custom moots that you buy.
Yeah.
The other thing that can be done, especially if you schedule it, it's what's known as an agreed value or a replacement cost. That's going to take some paperwork.
Sure.
But if it's 10K to replace the custom titanium, you're buying 10K worth of coverage.
This is another great reason to have a fantastic relationship with your local bike shop, because they can help you out with
100%.
paperwork.
The local bike shops that can help you with this, because the insurance companies don't have a clue what components cost,
Right.
and all the all the things that we all do to our bikes.
Yeah. I'm gonna take us off track for a minute. I definitely do want to come back to this. That's something Brad and I talk about every episode, multiple times an episode, quite frankly, the value of the local bike shop and how important we think it is. And I have firsthand experience with exactly this situation. And again, this is not bashing Canyon or Loft or anyone else out there. But when I got hit, I put the other guy's insurance company in touch with my bike shop.
Yeah.
And that bike shop, they had the bike there, and they were able to go through everything and say the value on this is this, and the value on that is that. Whereas if I'd have said, well, I had the Canyon bike, they would have just gone to the website and said, well, here's what that bike. Well, I had these wheels, and I had this, and I had my computer on it. Well, no, the website says it's a $3,500 bike.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And it's crazy because people that aren't in our world think a bike is a bike.
That was another thing. I wanted to ask you about that real quick, Ron, because you were talking about the on the homeowners, and some policies cover it, some don't, or the deductible or whatever else. I know I've been in conversations with people that just automatically assumed that their bike was covered by their homeowners because their insurance guy said their bikes were covered. I think it's a safe assumption to think their insurance guy may be thinking they're talking about Walmart bikes or something like that, not a $10,000 titanium custom bike or whatever. Is that a fair assumption, or is somebody that's an insurance agent not familiar with bikes? Are they going to ask those right questions, generally speaking, in the industry?
A bike is not a bike is not a bike, but not all insurance is equal. There are absolute differences that are in play, and you need to find someone who deals with what you need specifically. There are insurance agents that sell nothing but life and health insurance, and they are absolute fantastic experts at that, but they would not have the first clue of what you need to cover that bicycle. You do not get that from a website. You do not get that from a 1-800 number. You get that from having a relationship with people who live and work around you, whether it's a local bike shop, a local insurance agent, or a local boba place. Those people know you. They know how to take care of you, and they sell something more than whatever that commodity or service is.
Yeah.
So we touched on two ways to take care of
the third.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it back around so we didn't leave anyone hanging that might actually be listening to this. We might be able to get up to 30 listeners if we can stay on track every once in a while.
And I apologize in advance for completely taking us off track.
Pretty sure I'm the one that did that. So
it's my turn next.
So the third way to cover it is we do offer a complete standalone option to cover your bicycle that is not related to any other bicycles. It's not related to any other policy. The one that we offer, when people see the price tag on it, they kind of choke a little bit. You can also do the same thing through a couple of other places that don't use agents. They are online. They are direct to consumer. That policy, their policy will function much like an auto policy in that they generally extend some liability in case you cause an accident. Let's say you're doing a Saturday road ride and you're in the middle of the pack and you take some people out. There is some liability coverage, but there's also what's known as physical damage coverage, which is going to replace your bike that you've declared its value. I don't sell a policy that offers the liability. I can help walk someone through that option that is done online. They are owned by a company that we do work with. They just don't happen to use agents for those policies. But that standalone policy, if you truly want to get it properly protected, that's how you have to do it.
That makes sense.
Do those standalone policies cover theft as well?
They do, actually. Or the ones that I offer do. I'd have to look to make sure on the ones that are offered online.
So this is going to be a nuanced question, but like I've got a Willits steel gravel bike that you literally can't even purchase anymore because they're defunct. That company doesn't even exist anymore. So would, like, at the very onset of said policy, would you have to come to an understanding of what a replacement value would look like, and you just kind of settle that out from the get-go?
Pretty much. What's going to happen in an instance like that is there's going to have to be an appraisal done of the bike, much like you would a ring.
Circling back to theft in general, because I know it's a question I hear regularly when people wonder about bicycle insurance or what does what. If I have my bike on the bike rack on my truck or my car and it's stolen while I'm in the quick store or something like that, is that covered by my auto insurance, or does that default back to my homeowner's insurance? Or if I do have it as a scheduled item, how would theft work in that sort of situation on a general basis? I understand it's going to vary from policy to policy and what coverage you have and so forth.
Yeah, so the vast majority of the time when we talk about the situation you just described, auto insurance covers nothing. And most people don't understand that. The way that you have equipment covered on an auto policy, typically it has to be declared as customizations to the vehicle, and it's technically supposed to be permanently attached. So that's item number one. From there, it's going to default to a home policy or that individual scheduled policy. And you're going to be subject to, if it's on the home policy, there can be limits on the value that is covered by theft, especially when it's not on your premises. And you're going to be subject to the deductible.
Don't take this the wrong way, Ron, because this is exactly why you're here. But oh my God, I'm getting tired head.
Yeah, I was thinking we probably lost 18 of our 24 listeners.
We probably lost 25 of the 30.
This is why you're here for this discussion. It's like, people got to understand. It's just not as simple as, oh, my homeowners covers it, I'm good. It's not that straightforward. Hey, if y'all want to reach out to Ron and Insurance for Texans, fantastic. I'm not dissuading that by any stretch. I'm not encouraging that by any stretch, but I really am. But we're not going there. Definitely. If you're happy with your insurance provider, just make sure to ask them the right questions next time, and hopefully this gives folks a little bit of reminder of just to make sure your I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I have the luxury of knowing I can rely on Ron to make sure my stuff's set up properly, and I'm sure other people have other insurance providers they're comfortable with. It doesn't hurt to ask those questions for sure.
Yeah. So I'll tell you two things, and then we'll move on to the medical stuff. Number one, an insurance policy is nothing more than a legal contract. You either need to read it yourself, or you need to make sure that the person you're trusting has read it and can absolutely understand to you what's going on. The second thing that I will tell you is most people who have a bad claim experience assume things are a certain way, and they've never asked questions or read the document.
Fair enough. We're using the J. Peterberry situation as just a general example. So we don't know the details of what insurance hurdles he's having to cross or anything like that. But I mean, the situation he ran into is realistically something that could happen to any of us that ever ride a bicycle anywhere traffic is, because he was on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, literally. The medical side of things, again, assuming that something happens to you that's, we'll start with the not your fault, but from an uninsured driver or an uninsured source of whatever caused it, sort of thing. What are my options there?
Let's look at this from a total risk standpoint. Number one, GPS locator beacons that can help with extraction are terribly inexpensive these days when you think about it in the big picture of life. I highly recommend whichever one you prefer. I have one that I use personally, I would highly recommend that because that SOS button can get your butt out of there faster than just about anything else. That's the first thing I will tell you. And that has nothing to do with insurance. In conjunction with that SOS, there is insurance that you can buy for extraction that is applicable worldwide. It is highly recommended if you are doing major epic shit.
Yeah.
Having that extraction insurance is 100% recommended. With that said, if you are hit like he was, or let's say you have a wreck, whatever, your health insurance is going to provide you coverage. If you are hit by a car, they're going to sue whoever's car insurance for whatever money they can get to apply against the bill. If you are on individual health insurance today, it is highly likely that you have a deductible or what they refer to as max out of pocket that is probably pushing at least $10,000. I've seen them go higher, and that's to say if you have $100,000 and all these people are in network or whatever, you're probably going to be out at least 10. So what I personally recommend to people is what's known as an accident policy. These policies are incredibly cheap. They work anywhere worldwide as long as care is given by a licensed professional. But what they're going to do is they're going to cover up anything that is either not covered by your personal health insurance policy, or if you're using it and you're on some sort of catastrophic only plan, they're going to eat up that massive out of pocket expense that you could have.
We keep dirt in our first aid kit around here.
I'm married to a pediatrician, and she's like, "Oh no, that could hurt you," and I'm like, "We'll rub some dirt on it. It'll be okay."
Yeah.
My guess is this is actually going to generate a lot of questions that we didn't touch on, or people are going to have some particular feedback of, well, that's not the way it works with my insurance policy. I'm betting this will get us the most viewer mail and comments of any episode we've done so far. Brad and I have talked about it for a while to get you on board and doing an episode, but Brad was insisting that it had to be an evening episode and involve whiskey. So my idea is somewhere down the road, I'm sure we'll have some questions that need follow-up, and I think follow-up questions would be the right environment for sipping whiskey and talking about that follow-up. Would you be on board with something like that, Ron?
I would, Brad. Are you familiar with the King Ranch by Old Forester?
Yeah, the price is just crazy this year. What'd you pay for it? Last year it was $60. This year it's $90.
It's $90, but I didn't have to pay over for it. I'm seeing it online at like $150.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I was able to get my hands on a bottle last weekend.
Have you cracked it?
And somebody else had it. I have not, but one of my friends at a football tailgate on Saturday had some, and I got to taste his.
Yeah.
Dude, it's delicious.
Old Forester's
and I think that's
great in my book, period. So.
Yes, but this is exceptional by their standards.
Very nice.
All right, Ron, I'm going to let you get back to work. We appreciate your time, sir.
Always good talking to you, Ron.
Fellas, I say this sincerely because I've known you so long, and I hope you understand that, but keep being fantastic, guys.
We try.
We'll do our best. And that was the one, the only
Ron Wadley.
Ron Wadley. Ride for beer.
Yeah, ride for beer. God, what a throwback.
I think it was a necessary topic, but oh my God, it's insurance, right?
Yeah. I mean, it takes a special person to be Ron Wadley.
There's no doubt about that.
This is why I have a wife. She handles all of that stuff, so I don't, because she knows that I'll just go, whatever. Whatever.
Quite frankly, it's why I lean on Ron for, because I know I can trust him to. It's like, all right, just put. And I mean, that wasn't an automatic. We didn't. That's been a progression over the years, and I still have some stuff that's separate from what he's able to provide, and because it's like I can't do this better than what you got, so you keep what you got, sort
Yeah.
of thing. And again, that's why I lean on the bike shop like I do as well. I trust them to say, I know you think you want that wheel set. That's not the wheel set you want for this bike.
Right.
It really isn't.
Right. Yet they sold you 27.5 wheels.
I'm
Kidding. That's what Kevin wanted.
That's what Kevin wanted. And actually, it was questioned. And it was why I have them back again, because the last time I was in there, Clarence, I got those wheels of yours.
Yeah.
Do you want them? I was like, can you use them? He's like, fuck no.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing we did forget and mention, but I think it's probably already handled on most people's aspect, is if you have a nice custom bike, take pictures of it and keep them in a folder, and including the serial number, because that will help with identification of all your parts and bits and stuff as well.
Yeah.
In the case that anything happens,
man,
like
there's so many topics along it, and I definitely didn't want to drag Ron into it, but I mean, just stuff I've seen friends go through in some of these situations and things like that. I've known people that have been rear-ended, and their one-up rack or their coup-out rack gets mangled.
Yeah.
And the national level insurance companies that are the providers for the person who's at fault, they'll go, well, no, that was a used rack. And typical schedule, you've had that for 3 years. So the you bought it for $600, but now it's worth $150. It's like, no, you're not going to buy that rack used for $150. You're going to buy it for $450 or $500 used.
Right.
Quite frankly, but that still doesn't make me whole. And the same with the bikes. They'll just totally depreciate stuff and say, oh, it's only worth this. So that was definitely the value in my situation where the bike shop got involved, and they made it clear to the insurance company. It's like, to replace this, it's going to cost him that.
Right.
And the insurance company tried to depreciate it, and they got back to me, well, we think the fair value is this. I said, that doesn't make me whole. And then, quite frankly, that's all I had to say, and basically it's, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they'll try to play games with you.
Oh.
It's
well, I mean, it's in there. That's how the whole business model works.
and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is. But we won't.
But that's what keeps premiums down, is because you have.
Are they down?
Well, that's what keeps them from being even higher, I guess I should say.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
So I feel like we haven't talked about bikes enough.
Probably haven't.
Yeah. Like,
Did you do TNSS last night?
yeah.
How'd it go?
I rode with a particular guy that is plagued with mechanicals lately. He had a flat, picked a bad line. Actually,
are you being introspective and talking about yourself here?
Negative. I don't pick bad lines.
Oh, okay.
He dinged his rim on the rear, flatted, had to give him a tube again.
Tube?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he flatted.
Well, okay.
And
but he was tubeless.
Oh, yeah. And
so he was under volume, under pressured.
Possibly. The ironic part of the whole thing was, at the beginning of the ride, he presented me with tubes to replace the last time I gave him a tube. And so, and then we were almost done, and I had not ran off, but I had left them a little bit, and he flatted his front as well. So, and then another guy's handlebars were loose. I mean, it was a shit show. Did see I guess you would call it a mutual friend. Saw one of Shannon's buddies. We were fixing Hoyt's tire. I see a guy ride by in a Race Ready Repair jersey, and I was like, Race Ready Repair? I was like, do you know Shannon? And he goes, yeah. And he slows down. I go, do you know Breg from Pricksville? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I think he's there right now. And he stopped and chatted with us for a little bit. He comes up here for work, and rides typically on Tuesday. So he said he's going to bring a single speed and ride with us, but he's from the Houston area as well. So pretty cool. Small world.
Yeah, it is.
So, weather was amazing. This weather's, you know me, I love my weather. We got treated to a gorgeous sunset last night. Did you happen to see the sunset
I
last
did,
night?
No, I told you I fell asleep at 7 o'clock.
That's right. The sun was still up. It was quite spectacular where we were. Good circle as usual. Good times. But I just like riding my bike.
I hear you.
It was good stuff. But headed to Missouri tomorrow for BT Epic. I've got some cooking to do today. I'm cooking for our cabin. So I'm trying to get some prep work done today. I don't have my favorite sous chef. She's currently out of town. Not looking forward to cooking and cleaning. But, you know.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yep. So that's what I have on task for the rest of the day.
So how many people are you having to feed for this?
I think it's just 10 people.
Okay.
I'm only going to do, I've got dinner 2 nights and then breakfast 1 morning. So not that big of a deal.
Okay. We still need to figure out the Spinistry-palooza menu.
I need to know how many people.
Okay.
I need to know what meals. And then I need to know what I will have, if anything, to work with.
Okay.
Up to and including electricity.
Okay.
And then if we have any dietary restraints.
Okay.
You know, because I know we have, the gluten-frees and the dairy-frees and the, whatever. But once I know all that, then I can figure out how to work around it, and I'll make it happen.
Well, so I guess it's more along the lines of what do you need to make it work? Is your perception that we're providing everything, or you're going to provide it and we haul it for you, or as far as burners or cookers or whatever else, or what's your ideal situation?
Well, it really depends on the amount of people. Like
Let's
how many
say 20.
people?
Let's say 20 people.
20 people, and it also depends on what we have available. We're going to be. It's just a rugged campsite, right?
It's the overnight for Saturday night is primitive camping, but we'll have access to a nearby cabin with electricity and stuff.
Okay, because I'm inclined to do something and then sous vide it, and
I can definitely bring a generator to power a sous vide.
Yeah,
that's not a problem.
And then do some of the stuff. Will we be able Will we be able to have a fire? Or is that going to be a game time thing?
That's probably going to be a game time thing, and if we do, it's probably going to have to be a solo stove or something like that.
Okay. So cooking over fire's out.
I would not plan to cook over fire.
I'll figure it out, but my goal is to make it easy and delicious.
Understood.
So it's wherever those two kind of cross on the graph. I got to get through this weekend, and then I'll think about it.
Understood.
But it's not going to be an
so
issue.
at least at this point, I should plan to bring a generator at least.
Yeah, but if we have a cabin, we can just set up a sous vide in the cabin, can't we?
Potentially.
They have electricity.
Potentially.
Do they have external electricity?
I don't know that specifically yet. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
it doesn't hurt to have the generator as a backup, and that way the sous vide can be right up there at the campsite too.
Yeah,
hypothetically, but we'll see. So I'll plan on the generator. Now, if we do the sous vide route, would your expectation be that you bring your sous vide, or I haul your sous vide stuff, or would you prefer that I pack my sous vide stuff? For example, that's the type of thing I'm trying to get in the.
I typically bring my own equipment just so I know what I'm dealing with. Even though sous vide is sous vide is sous vide.
That makes all the sense in the world to me. I understand.
And I'll probably just bring like a 5-gallon bucket. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. The problem is water.
Water.
Yeah.
We will have the water.
Okay.
And actually, we do have water in the cabin. We have water in the cabin for sure.
Okay.
So our worst case scenario is to fill our 5-gallon jugs and take it up there to
Yeah.
top off the sous vide.
And then once I figure out if we have dietary restraints and what they are, then I can work backwards from there.
I will send that email out
Yeah.
Sunday night.
Okay.
Let everybody get through their weekend and say, hey,
Yeah.
Chef's Brad starting to put the menu together. If you have special restrictions, I'm not gonna ask for requests.
Yeah. It needs to be allergies or dietary restrictions,
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but I plan on, and then how many meals? Is it just going to be the one night?
Saturday night is the Chef Brad meal.
Okay.
We'll probably also provide a Sunday night something for everybody as well, but
Okay.
that'll probably be Spinistry chow of some sort.
Okay. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
kind of what I'm thinking anyway.
I'm going to make it as good as I can, but also dealing with what we deal with,
Understood.
So, I think we can do something really good.
Okay.
So, I don't want to let all my cats out of the bag.
And
at
I don't know
once.
if you got the email or not, but Pearlie has agreed to join us to help with support.
Oh.
So we opened up 6 more spots. So we were sold out. We opened up 6 more spots. I've got another pair of hands
Very
to
cool.
help with stuff. So
I'm even more excited now. Hurley.
Mrs. Spinistry, for those who don't know what a Pearlie is.
She's awesome.
Yeah, so she was Ride for Beer. She was Pearlie. You were B Green, right?
Mm-hmm. Very original. Very original.
And my original one was Kevin.
Yeah.
Any bike news, parts, bits, anything exciting there?
I did get a correction to circle back to the Surly cross-check. My resident Surly expert, so to speak, Shannon.
I'm about to say, this has to be Shannon, right?
He's a freaking bird dog on the website, and he's more in touch with what Surly's doing, what they've done, and all that than I could ever amount to. He told me that the cross-check literally was never touched. Disc tabs weren't added.
Okay.
Ever. I forgot what the I think it's the Straggler maybe was basically a cross-check with disc tabs. They didn't put disc tabs on it and continue to call it a cross-check. The cross-check has always remained cantilever brakes.
Okay.
And he said that's probably why they relegated it to discontinue.
That makes. I could have sworn somewhere along the way I had heard that they had updated cross
He
checks.
wanted me to make sure that you were corrected.
That's perfectly
yeah.
fine. I don't mind being corrected.
No, he sent me a text, like, I guess it was yesterday. He's like, hey, crosscheck never had disc tabs. I was like, sorry. I mean, I didn't know. Well, it's in the title. We're just a bunch of idiots.
Exactly.
I wasn't claiming it to be fact.
Did you see our local cycling world-class celebrity, Lauren Stevens, how she did at Gravel Worlds?
I did not. No.
6th place.
Very nice.
A very, very, very strong
She's a beast.
finish.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, Faster Mustache with, I forgot the guy's name, Payson. And they were
Faster
talking.
You talking the Pace McKelvin?
Yeah. And I was
It's not Faster Mustache, but I know what you're talking about.
something like that.
Something about mustache.
But and he had a female guest on. I can't remember her name. And they were recapping some races, and they were talking about female starts, trying to get females separate starts because there was all that. I don't want to get into all that, but
Right.
And Payson was talking about in this particular race, he had a mechanical, so he ended up riding with some of the females, and he thought it interesting to witness that dynamic in person, and it was funny because she went down this list of names, and she actually named Lauren Stevens, and I was like, I know her. It was pretty cool.
Pretty cool. She's been here. She's been in your garage.
Yeah, yes, she has. Yeah, had lunch with her. But it was pretty cool. I also listened to, he interviewed, I can't remember this guy's name either, the guy that just broke the Tour Divide record.
Yeah.
With his set sleep schedule.
With a sleep schedule.
Yeah, which is the smartest way to do it, in my opinion.
I don't disagree.
I think that guy, he must have said the word like about 3,000 times during the podcast, and it just crushed it for me. I couldn't, once it started I started taking note of it.
Once you realize it, it's like something stuck between your teeth.
It just ran it into the wall for me. It was tough, but still a good listen. It was just difficult. I haven't really heard or came across any what I'd call really cycling news lately.
This is the time of year it does start to slow down. The stuff that starts making news now is like, the online stuff and the simulators and Zwift and all that. That's what's starting to take up the news now. And
yeah, I am the very, very late adapter to indoor riding. I have a true spin bike that has no metrics, no measurement, no nothing. And the tensioner on it is literally just felt pads that rub on the flywheel.
Sure.
And I ride it without a heart rate monitor or anything in the very few times that I ride it, and just watch TV. So I don't have a smart trainer by any stretch of the imagination. But it's probably about time for me to get one. But, that's what I was going to ask you.
Okay.
So Peloton, what's going on with Peloton? And I asked this for a multitude of reasons.
Okay.
They filed bankruptcy, or their stock plummeted. They laid off tons of employees.
Sure.
They had some warehousing issues. Do they still support their platform?
Yes.
Okay. And I asked this because I'm a peruser of Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
It's almost a hobby. I don't know. It's a sickness.
I get it.
But I've seen numerous Peloton bikes for sale.
Yes.
For like dirt cheap, like $200, $400.
Yes.
So my thought was to get one of those, but then I was wondering, can you get a subscription service without purchasing your Peloton bike straight from Peloton?
Yes, you can.
And do they still support? They still have content and training and all that stuff?
Yes.
And can you Zwift with a Peloton
No,
bike?
you can't.
Okay, so you can only Peloton.
So the simple answer, and I'm sure there's probably variances to it, and somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
With this hack, and if you reprogram this and you hire Jay Clark to come in and do it for you with Beachnut riding his back, you can make a Peloton work on Zwift, probably. Okay. But Peloton's about the subscription service.
Okay.
That's where they generate their revenue.
That makes sense.
But they, obviously they sell the bike as well to perpetuate the subscription service,
which are ridiculously expensive.
It's relative. I have not ridden a Peloton bike, so I can't speak to it specifically.
Nor have I, obviously.
But I mean, realistically, a decent spin bike's going to cost you $1,000 these days.
I think a Peloton's $2,000.
And but it's got the video screens and all understood.
Yeah.
But that's what the subscription is for. So if you don't do the subscription, there's no reason to have a Peloton bike.
That's fair.
So if your spin bike is a Peloton bike, just without the feedback stuff.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So they're all about the subscription service. So they're happy for people that are no longer paying for a subscription to sell their bike secondhand to somebody that will start paying.
Rejuvenate a subscription. Yeah.
So they're perfectly fine with that. That said, they every year traditionally, to the best of my understanding, they have updated the bikes, added more features or more capabilities. So they do get people in N+1 mode or replace the Peloton mode. So you'll get people that buy the latest one because now it's got an 8-inch screen instead of a 7-inch screen or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll sell their old one on Facebook Marketplace as well.
Well, I was inclined to look into one, and then I just started, and I guess I could have Googled and figured it out, but I was just curious if you knew, because
Ron would have been a good person to talk to. He's a
Peloton boy.
He's a Peloton guy. He's a fan.
We know a lot of people that are on Peloton.
Where Peloton, in my view, makes sense is at the family level. If people are sharing the Peloton, then it kind of makes sense to some extent. So a lot of people that I know that it's like, well, it doesn't have the resistance and the feedback and everything like that, and it's not a racing simulation. But I'm able to get my workout in, and my spouse gets their workout in as well. that kind of makes sense. Whereas if I'm doing my dedicated bike from my stuff, my smart bike, my wife's she's not gonna mess with that bike and the logging onto the computer and doing all of that. So I can see where it makes sense. Personally, I'm a big fan of, I'm able to stay engaged with Zwift if I need to, or the new one I'm doing these days in Indy Velo. Same general tool as Zwift, but just the things like it. It's a simulated bike riding environment with other people, and you go up the hill and the resistance goes up and you have to gear down and everything like that. Whereas Peloton, it's just a spin bike, so there's no resistance to it. You're doing what the spin coach is telling you to do.
There's no resistance?
It's not feedback resistance like going, I'm at an 8% incline.
Right. It's
not automatic resistance along that way, or now I'm into a 20 mile an hour. You can adjust the resistance.
Yeah.
You can manually adjust it like on your spin bike.
Yeah.
I want a harder effort now, but it's not feedback like you're riding a bike. I'm going up a hill now, and it's harder. Yeah. So different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying one's better than another. Different tools are better for different people.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I just want to. I mean, I don't care about all that stuff anymore. I just want to keep my legs moving when I'm on my indoor bike. I don't know. I probably should be more inclined to increase my efforts.
I'm always a proponent of work with what you have to maximize that, and then if that doesn't work out, then you figure out what to upgrade for. What is it about the spin bike that you don't like? Why do you think a Peloton might do you better than the spin bike? Why are you entertaining the idea of a Peloton?
Just different.
It's different.
Yeah.
I get it.
And it realistically it would probably end up in the same position that my spin bike is, just sitting there.
Understood.
But I just thought it was curious. I saw one Peloton literally was $200, and I was like, that seems crazy. But I do, if I remember correctly, I don't think it had a screen. The screen was missing for whatever reason. So that may be why it was so cheap. But then I saw one that was fully intact for $400, and they were throwing in the shoes and everything.
The market's flooded with them because there's tons of people that
have abandoned that.
Yeah. I think you get a year of the subscription with the bike is what I think is the way it worked. Yeah. I'm not positive of that. So if you buy the bike for $2,000, that includes a year's subscription.
Yeah.
Whatever so then year 2 rolls around, it's like, it was basically a clothes hanger. I don't even know what is a Peloton subscription? $40 a month, $50 a month, $80 a month? I don't know.
I'm looking up their stock real quick.
Well, that's
just because I'm curious.
Yeah, but see that one's a direct reflection of that COVID fitness boom that we talked about. I mean, there were so many people that were buying Pelotons during COVID because they thought they were going to be stuck in their house for the next 5 years, sort of thing.
Their stock is down 445% since December 31st of 2020.
Yeah. Oh, of 2020?
Yeah. So their stock...
They spiked...
They spiked in December 31st of 2020.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, 2020. Yeah.
Their stock price was $162.72 on December 24th of 2020.
Okay.
And then now their stock is $5.
Okay, what was it on December 24th of 2019?
I don't know that they were out then.
They may not have been public yet. They may have gone public during that boom. That's quite possible.
It looks like that it got listed on February 12th of 2020.
So their IPO is, what did it IPO at on that day?
$27.83. Seems like a random number.
Well, no, it's.
And then it just climbed and
that's
climbed
the
and
auction.
climbed and climbed.
So it IPO'd at $27.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, a new stock, the IPO price will be multiples higher than the actual value, but it's people that want to get on board that first day,
Sure.
knowing that 5 years from now it's going to be worth 100.
Yeah.
So they IPO'd at 27, which let's say that says a real fair value for them was probably between 10 and 15.
Sure.
So that's what their real value. And you're saying they're trading at 5 something now,
$5.36.
and they're probably undervalued now. So they're probably still actually in that $10 to $15 actual valuation range, realistically. But yeah, they're in the hangover of that COVID 2020 explosion where everybody was buying everything Peloton could and more. Where just like you were talking about last week, the market expected that to be sustainable, and the people that were following that publicly traded stock were like, "Oh, it's at $100. Well, it's going to go for 150. It's going to go for," and they were right to a point until it wasn't.
Yeah.
So you can't judge the actual value of a company realistically by the stock price, unfortunately.
No, but I just knew that I had read that their stock price just crashed.
Sure did.
Which, I mean, I think...
But it was completely based off the unrealistic expectations like you were talking about last week. And anybody that would have looked at that thinking that was sustainable was crazy.
Right.
But kind of counter to that, what Wahoo went through this past year on their stuff, they're kind of back on their feet, but like they let their training platform, not their simulation platform, go, and now you buy a new Wahoo Smart Trainer, you get a year's worth of Zwift with, or 3 months of Zwift with it. Or if you buy the Zwift Smart Trainer, you get a year's worth of Zwift with it. When I bought my smart bike, it included a year's worth of Zwift with it, which for me made it a no-brainer at that point because I was already a Zwift subscriber. So it was like, oh, I'm getting this bike for this much and a year's worth of Zwift. It's better than just getting a regular smart trainer at that point. But that said, I personally, if you start going down that path where you think you need something indoor, I think you would be better off with a smart trainer and some sort of simulation software. But I'm not saying that's the. I don't think any of them are the right fit for you, quite frankly. But I could be wrong.
I like to ride my bike outside.
I understand that.
It's part of the reason I ride my bike is to go and see stuff.
Go and
do things.
I get that completely.
Yeah.
There's, you ride twice a week, 3 times a week?
I try to ride at least twice a week. I rode twice this weekend, actually. I rode Knob Hills. Did I tell you this story?
I have not heard it.
So we both know I'm a dipshit, but I'm going to tell you even more so why I'm a dipshit. So on Saturday, I went climbing with my kid in the morning. It was a rare weekend where I didn't have anything. It was freaking nice. I didn't have any functions, nothing. And Gage was going to cook for me that evening. So I went climbing that morning and then came home and chilled for a little bit and then was going to go ride Knob Hills solo. I didn't even invite anybody. My plan was just to ride a chill lap because the weather was amazing. What was it, like high of 73?
Something.
So loaded everything up, got to the trailhead. Trailhead was kind of busy with vehicles, not a lot of people. And so I hopped on my bike and took off, and I was planning on just riding chill. And as soon as I started riding, I was like, man, I feel pretty good. So I just kind of stayed in it, and I was clipping along pretty good. Passed a couple of people, hikers, riders that were pulled over, and went all the way to the end of the trail, didn't stop, just kept going, just turned and started heading back. And then right there where Inspiration Point is, where the bench is.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of almost a switchback right there. You can see up to the top. Well, Emily and Shane Woodhall were there, and they had pulled over, and I come around that little tree that's right there by the bench, and I go, what's going on, guys? Shane looks at me, and he's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm riding my bike. What are you doing? And he's like, where's your helmet? And I did one of these. What? I had put my cycling cap on and not put my helmet on.
Yeah.
Meantime, I was ripping.
Yeah.
Like throwing my bike around, like just bombing down stuff.
Because you felt good.
Yeah, I felt good.
Felt lighter.
And then I was just...
Felt cooler.
It's like somebody just ripped my legs out. He's like, this isn't the Brad I know. Why are you riding without a helmet? I go, well, obviously I didn't mean to, but I felt like a complete dipshit.
Wow.
And so he goes, well, I hope I didn't ruin the rest of your ride. And I go, no, I'm not going to change anything. I said, if I ride scared, then that's when I'm going to fall. So I just carried on. But I did feel stupid. I was waiting. At that point, I was waiting for somebody to go, where's your helmet? So I get back to the truck, fully anticipating my helmet to be sitting on my bed rail or on my dry box. No, it's in the back seat. Never even got it out.
Never even got to that point. You were just too anxious to ride, man.
I don't know what was going on. I don't know. It's the first time I've ever done that I know of. But I also wasn't riding with anybody, so nobody goes, hey.
Well, there was nobody to remind you.
Yeah. So, but I felt like a complete idiot.
Except for Shane.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was about...
That was 3/4 of the
He
way
was
through.
about 9 miles too late, you know? So, I couldn't believe it. And I share my stories of idiocy, so maybe it helps somebody else remember. But I do acknowledge that I made one tiny tactical error. Normally, we all have our habits of how we pack our kit and all this. I routinely will have my cycling cap and my gloves in my helmet.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and so I'll grab my helmet out, put it on the bed of my truck or whatever, and then put my cap on, put my helmet on immediately. Well, I had washed my hat and gloves, and so they were separate. They were with my clothes instead of with my helmet. I did have my helmet.
Right.
So
you still messed with the routine.
Yes. And so I think that's where the whole thing broke down. But still, I felt so dumb. Luckily, I didn't need a helmet.
Luckily.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Yeah. So I just felt like sharing that because it's
a good story.
It's funny-ish. I don't condone riding without a helmet, for the record, but I was like, what am I doing? So
I recognize people are free to make their own choices, but that doesn't stop them from being a dumbass sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I see plenty of people. I see people. North Shore is the one that weirds me out the most, but that's also where I ride the most. But we see guys on the regular on a Tuesday night, guys going into the trail at Matt's shelter, like 10 minutes before sundown, no lights, no helmet, just riding without a care in the world. And I'm like, A, you're going to get lost probably. B, you're going to run out of light. And C, where's your helmet? So, but to each their own. Hope they're well insured.
I know a guy.
Mm-hmm.